Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Friday evening to you all. I hope you guys are doing awesome out there tonight and had yourselves a wonderful day, and I hope everyone is having a great beginning to your weekend out there so far. Here to give you some update information on the Tropics, so thank y'all for joining me, as I think you'll be happy that you did. This is going to be jam-packed full of information. We're going to go over what's going on out there right now in the Atlantic. We'll give you the latest from the National Hurricane Center. We'll go over all the model guidance. We'll speak on the Euro, the GFS, the Icon Canadian, the ensemble model guidance. We'll talk about sea surface temperatures, the upper wind pattern, the steering currents, all that stuff that could support intensification of this main area of interest that we will discuss in this video. And I say main because there's a couple other areas to watch too. We have multiple areas of interest out here dubbed by the National Hurricane Center. So I will start this off by saying our next named storm is Francine, the F name. After that, it's Gordon. We could take both of these names, maybe three, over the course of the next 7 to 10 days. So if you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And more importantly, if you guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put those in the comments below. I do want to continue to ask for prayers for myself. My buddy did come out and look at my well pump, and it does look like the well pump is going bad. We don't know that for 100% fact, but we're about 90 to 95% sure that is what it is. So it is kind of a bummer, but I've adopted this new mentality over the last few years that somebody out there has it worse, right? It's part of being a homeowner. It's not the end of the world. No reason of having extreme anxiety over it. So thank you for the people who've prayed over my situation, and my wife this week too. So definitely put your prayer requests in the comments also. It's a very, very important portion of this video. With all that being said, let's get rocking and rolling. So we're going to make sure this is going to work, and I hope it is. And it is. So we're going to choose pink for now. So this area I'm circling right here is just a lot of shower and storm activity. We call it the it's weather terminology. It's basically just a lot of tropical activity out here in the central Atlantic. We also have this wave right here we're watching too. And then we have this large area right here in the western Gulf of Mexico. This is bringing shower and storm activity into the western Gulf states like Louisiana, even into Texas, even into Mississippi this evening. So a very wet beginning to your weekend in these states back here in the U.S. And then we have this disturbance right here, and you want to watch this too, but the National Hurricane Center does not have this labeled as an area of interest as of right at this moment. But we kind of take all this back off your screen. We keep this area circled here. This is the main area we're going to discuss in this video. And I know this area doesn't look any different than those other areas I circled, but this is the region that we're going to watch for some sort of dominant piece of energy to consolidate and eventually have an opportunity to develop somewhere, I think, in the Caribbean. So I think if this is going to have any early shot to develop, it'll be kind of right in this region right here in the Eastern Caribbean. And then as it makes its way across, if whatever this is does go this way, as it makes it through, say, the Central and the Western Caribbean, I think that is when the environment certainly becomes supportive for a more rapid pace of intensification. But we're speaking way on out. But to get this all back off your screen, this main circled area, believe it or not, is our area of interest that we are watching. So we get all this back off your screen and we keep on moving. These are current observations, current real-time, what's going on out here in the Atlantic right at this moment. Now, let's see if we have a new update. We don't. I will mention, for my regular viewers, you already know what I'm going to say. For whatever reason, it's bad timing. I always drop a video right before they do a new update from the National Hurricane Center. So some of this information could change. The latest info that we have from 2 p.m. Another update will literally drop here in about 25, 30, 45 minutes. In fact, I'll try to go back to this image before we shut this video down. But as of now, you see this orange X. This is where our main area of interest is. AOI for short, kind of an acronym for area of interest. Excuse me. But this is the main area we're watching. It's saying that this tropical wave, if you will, has a 40% chance to develop sometime in the next 7 days in this area right here. Now, I expect this stuff because if you remember this morning, it was at a 50% chance and it's dropped to a 40%. I think this is going to get bumped back up to 50, maybe even 60 sometime in the next few updates, maybe as early as the 8 p.m. update coming up here in the next several minutes. Okay, so this is the main area we're going to discuss in this video. Now, there's also this. This is new from this morning. Remember how we've been talking about this for several days, honestly. Now it has an area of interest here in the northwest Gulf of Mexico. Remember when we were zooming into Louisiana, Texas, saying, hey, this looks like a pretty gnarly spin, a lot of tropical activity. Well, sure enough, now they're saying there's a 20% chance for this little spin, just basically this tropical disturbance in the northwest Gulf of Mexico, 20% chance for it to develop in the next 7 days. And I think it could go up. There's the potential that this could be sneaky and actually take the name Francine before that main area right here does. It could. And then the last area I'll mention is this wave behind this main wave. Has a 20% chance, tropical wave right here, way out in the eastern Atlantic, has a 20% chance to develop in this yellow area within the next 7 days. And if you're wondering, what do you mean by develop? That means it has a whatever percent chance to develop into a depression or a named storm, basically a tropical cyclone with a defined low-level circulation. That is what the definition of develop means in this case of the tropics. So with all that yapping being done, we move on and we look at the updated model information. This is the latest Euro that we have. So what I want you to do, guys, is I want you to put your eyes right down here. And I know this area in green don't look any different than this area green here, this area in green here, which I will tell you that this area green here is actually, this area I circled here is where we actually have that 20% chance of development. But I want you to keep your eyes right on this because this is our main focus right now and our main concern, I would say. So we get this circle back off and we keep this rolling. We're going to start this off for Labor Day morning, September the 2nd. We're going to keep moving here. You're going to periodically see kind of an L pop up here. And there it is. You know, it's going to show up more and more. And then we get to all the way to about Wednesday morning, September the 4th. We got 1,008 millibar low south of Haiti, right here in the middle of the central to eastern Caribbean. Okay, so is this going to begin to develop? Well, we continue to move into Thursday morning. All of a sudden, we have about a weak tropical storm south of Jamaica right into here. 1,004 millibar low. It's dropped from 1,008 to 1,004 on this model guidance on the Euro in a 24-hour period. Steady strengthening. And then we go from 1,004 millibar low to a 987 millibar low in about 30 hours from Thursday morning to about Friday midday, September the 6th, a week from today. We have a Category 1 hurricane in the Western Caribbean. And I could see something like this happening. So it's very slow development. Okay, we're already all the way a week out, and then we go past a week out, and then this strengthens even more. Now we have a 977 millibar low hurricane making landfall right at the far northeast tip of the Yucatan Peninsula next Sunday morning, September the 8th. Folks, I can't reiterate this enough. If this becomes a trackable system, which I think that confidence continues to increase that it is, we're going to be talking about this potentially for the entire first 1/3 of September, maybe the entire first half of September. And we continue to keep this going, and where does it go? Well, folks, it starts to creep into the Gulf of Mexico. And why? It's because it begins to strengthen in the Western Caribbean. A stronger system is going to want to gain latitude, want to go further north. So now we have a 971 millibar, probably Category 2 hurricane with the entire Gulf of Mexico out ahead of it right in here, where I imagine it would begin to strengthen even more at this point. Now, there is a big trough diving down at 10 days out on the Euro. That's going to influence the strength. That's going to also influence the steering currents of this. But then again, guys, 240 hours out, it's 10 days out. There's no point in diving deep into something 10 days out, right? So now that you know the Euro, what about the GFS? Same thing. I'm going to circle it again. Keep your eye right around this area right here, which I know just looks like blobs and splotches of green, but keep your eyes right there. So we start this Monday morning, same thing, this coming Monday morning, Labor Day morning. You keep this going, we get into Wednesday morning. Still not a whole lot there. We get into Thursday morning. You're seeing an L pop up here and there. Starting to see some tints of yellows and orange and reds here. Not a big deal. And then we start to get into Friday morning. And this brings a very weak tropical disturbance right over Jamaica. I know I got a lot of people tuning in from Jamaica. And we've had some people just outright ask, Mitch, is this going to bring impacts to us? I'm not sure. But from what we know now, if you're tuning in from Jamaica, it does look like whatever this is going to cruise really close to you guys. Let's just hope it doesn't strengthen before it gets to you guys. But most model guidance, once this gets into the Western Caribbean, does begin to strengthen this somewhat. In fact, we get all the way to next Sunday morning, not this Sunday morning, next Sunday morning, September the 8th, we got a 996 tropical storm that's kind of just maintaining strength. Surprisingly, it's not strengthening, which is kind of odd. And sorry, I keep clearing my throat, guys. I don't know what's going on with that, but 992, and then we got a 993 millibar tropical storm literally making landfall 10 days from now in the same exact spot as the Euro has it making landfall maybe a day or two prior. And then what happens after that? Well, it gets into the Gulf of Mexico, much further west on this run, I might add, rapidly intensifies, and then turns into an absolute monster hurricane, a major hurricane, all the way. It literally takes the entire almost first half of September to cruise across the Caribbean through the Gulf of Mexico, and eventually on this particular run makes a landfall as a major hurricane to the Texas coastline. Now, guys, if you're tuning in from Texas, please don't look at that and tell everybody and your brothers, uncles, cousins, dogs, donkey that you guys are going to get hit by a major hurricane on September 12th. Do not do that. I think if you're a new viewer and it's the first time you ever watched a weather video, take from this that anything past 5 days is just a shot in the wind. It's just not reliable. I'm just kind of showing you all the variables out here, all the model runs, and more importantly, why does this turn kind of begin to turn north right here? It's because it strengthens, stronger system, wants to gain latitude, but of course we don't want anything like the GFS happening. But the thing is, guys, and I'm going to show you the icon, the Canadian too, we just don't want anything getting in the Gulf of Mexico. I mean, that, I would say, that is the goal. Nothing needs to get right here, because if it does, it's one of the warmest bodies of water on Earth. There's nothing that's going to stop a tropical cyclone, a tropical disturbance, from rapidly intensifying in the Gulf of Mexico. And of course, we know when these tropical systems get in the Gulf of Mexico, they're going to hit somebody. It's not like they're going to kind of get right here, right? And then kind of, I'm going to head on back, hit it in reverse, and go back through the Caribbean, then back out into the Atlantic. I mean, they don't do that, right? So they're going to hit somebody. So that's the latest GFS, the latest icon from 18Z. It only goes 120 hours out, but it already begins to develop this into a 997. I know it's hard to see here. That's a 997 tropical storm in the Eastern Caribbean about midweek next week, or September the 4th. So the icon has been persistent on strengthening this a lot quicker than the GFS and the Euro. In the shorter term, already has this as tropical storm Francine, well south of Puerto Rico, kind of exactly where Hurricane Beryl went next Wednesday. And then, of course, we got to watch this tropical disturbance too. The icon wants us to continue to dance around for the next several days. And then the Canadian model, what does it show? Well, it takes a while to strengthen this, and to strengthen this also, we get all the way to next Wednesday evening, September the 4th. You know, we got a tropical storm south of Jamaica, so this is taking more of that southerly route, strengthens this into a Category 1 hurricane, hits the Yucatan Peninsula, areas of Belize. Next, literally a week from today, goes over the Yucatan Peninsula, gets into the Bay of Campeche, tries to re-strengthen, and then ultimately looks like it goes on to make a landfall into Mexico. So from all that, all the operational runs, what do you gather? Well, you gather the fact that every single model shows a tropical system developing. Some show it developing a little bit later than others. Obviously, different places of the ocean and all that, but that's some high confidence that something is coming. So that's why I think they are going to change this. And see if we got a new update. We do not. That's why I think they'll re-bump this up from a 40 to a 50% chance to develop in the next 7 days. We'll see what happens. The latest European ensemble. We'll start this off for, looks like our timing's off the screen. This is for this coming Sunday evening. All right, so this is the European ensemble, the EPS. It makes, 51 members. And if all 51 members form out of the ensemble run, then it'll show 51 L's on your screen. So you're just going to see a lot of L's. That doesn't mean we have 37 hurricanes out here. It just takes all the available members that develop a tropical system and puts on an output for us. So just don't want to have anybody confused thinking there's going to be, like I said, like 37 tropical systems out here. There's not. But as you can tell, this moves over the Lesser Antilles as a weaker tropical system. Most of these are like over 1,000 millibar in strength, which is a pretty weak tropical system. Now you'll notice you're starting to see some more colored lines in here. This tells us that the millibars are beginning to drop. It's a stronger system, and we have some pretty strong tropical systems. But one thing I want to note here, out of the 51 members, you have, I would say, over half the members showing, but there's also a good chunk of members, folks, that doesn't develop anything. But I will say this, that the members that do form and turn into a tropical cyclone, this turns, and almost all of them turn into some sort of, at least a named storm, at least a strong tropical storm. And, we continue and we move this all the way past. We're getting about a week out from today, and a lot of these members are a pretty strong hurricane in the Western Caribbean. Some of them just a tropical storm. You got a couple stragglers kind of turning north. But look how the spread really gets spread out. Like you still got members over here impacting land, members down here. Members right in the middle. So, where's this going to go? Well, the spread is quite large, right? Some getting, out in the Southwest Atlantic, out into the Bahamas, and then some are in the Bay of Campeche. So huge spread. There's a pretty decent spread even in the Caribbean. So we got a long ways to go, but there's some strong members in here. Look at this 937 millibar member. That's like getting close to Category 5 status, folks. So a lot of model agreement that something's coming. We just got to figure out the details. This hasn't even developed into a tropical cyclone yet. Sea surface temperatures, we'll talk about this really quick. This is in Celsius, so 30 to 31, 32 degrees Celsius. You see just the widespread 30 to 32 degrees Celsius sea surface temperatures in the Western Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico. What does that mean to Fahrenheit? That's about the mid to upper 80s in Fahrenheit. So we have bathtub water. So if you don't know a whole lot about the weather or the tropics, that isn't one of the ingredients for a tropical system to get stronger, is warm sea surface temperatures. That warm, moist air coming off the surface of the ocean basically fuels these tropical systems, creates a moist environment. So we already know that, right? Everybody's been talking like crazy about how we have record warmth out here in the Atlantic Ocean. So sea surface temperatures are very warm. They are very warm even as this system in the shorter term kind of goes over this region, right? Sea surface temperatures in the mid 80s, even upper 80s in some areas. So check that off the box as an ingredient for intensification. What about the next thing? Well, the next thing we'll look at here is the upper wind pattern. Winds at about 35 to 40,000 feet up in the air. So where you see the blues and greens, this indicates some higher winds aloft, way, way up in the atmosphere, way, way above the actual low pressure in the lower to mid levels of the atmosphere. So we'll look at the latest Euro, all right? And you're going to see an L pop up down here in the Caribbean periodically here. And there it is. It starts to show up more consistently as we get right here. You notice that number does not drop much from the eastern to the central Caribbean, which tells me that the Euro doesn't like the idea of the strengthening anytime soon. Why? Not quite sure, because the shear looks pretty low, but it gets right here. Okay. And what I want you to look, it's gonna be pretty hard to see on your screen. What I want you to look at here is you see these squiggly lines here with kind of like the arrows embedded in the lines. This is streamlined. So this is basically the direction that the wind flow is going in the upper levels of the atmosphere. And if you notice, they're kind of, going like this. They're kind of going like that right here. Right here gets a little weirder. You got a little flow that comes in right here, a little flow right there. But if you really look right into here, it's really getting dispersed outward. So the environment is really improving in the Western Caribbean. You're starting to get divergence aloft. Air is being dispersed out away from the system. This is allowing for more air to rise. That gets dispersed out in the upper levels of the atmosphere. Basically, that air is rising through the low to mid levels of this tropical system. Then it just gets pushed away. So that move, like I said, it creates more room for more air to rise. What does rising air mean? Rising air is allows for shower and storm activity. What does shower and storm activity do with these tropical systems? It creates a moist environment. What does that moist environment do for the low-level circulation? It cocoons it and it protects it. And when you don't have any dry air getting in and kind of entrained in the circulation of these low-level circulations of these tropical cyclones, then they can improve their structure. Therefore, when they can improve their structure, what's the next and final step that we never want to see? Rapid intensification. So it's like a step process, right? It's like most things in life. But you continue this and watch how this number begins to drop. Like it goes from in 6 hours, it goes from 995 to 987. So the environment becomes, just absolutely, just super favorable for rapid intensification. There's like a no shear environment 10 days out in the southern Gulf of Mexico. So it's definitely a scary thing to see this with so much flow aloft. We don't want anything surviving. We don't want anything surviving the Caribbean, guys. We don't, because if it does and it starts to get into the Gulf of Mexico, then it's hard to give any good news. It really is. So upper wind pattern, honestly becomes favorable throughout the entire Caribbean, just about. I think it'll deal with some shear in different time areas, but I think for the most part, it's pretty favorable. Now, the last thing we'll look at here, and then we'll round the video off, is steering currents. So this tropical system in the shorter term, like this is, for example, this is initializing for Tuesday morning, September the 3rd, is right in here. And you barely can see it. Low pressure is going to show up on this, what I'm showing you here, in blue. Higher pressure and warmer colors like the orange you see right in here, and then red. Okay, this tropical system is very weak right here. It's kind of embedded in ridging, honestly. So the flow kind of around this ridge is kind of going like this. So in general, weaker system, it's getting pushed just sort of very slowly, very light currents out here. I think that's why it moves so slow across the Caribbean, especially in the eastern and central Caribbean. Just very light flow out here. There's not much push in the atmosphere, but there is definitely enough to move this east to west. So what happens after this? We get this back off, and I do want to add this before we continue to go further. A stronger system always wants to get poleward. It always wants to gain latitude, get further north. So remember that as we continue to move forward here. And that's what we'll do. We continue to move forward, and then you're going to see blue show up right here. Okay, and at the same time, you see just this kind of this ghost, this white, this white color here. That is our lower pressure, and it's pretty simple to see what's going on. Even some stronger ridging right here. It's pretty much following the bottom flow of this ridging, and it's just kind of cruising. A little bit of embedded flow here. So our low is just continuing, just an easy like Sunday morning, just cruise across the Caribbean, not really gaining much strength. But then as it starts to get in the central to western Caribbean, it does begin to pick up some strength. And now you can actually see it. Define low pressure here, a stronger low pressure right here in the western Caribbean. You notice this orange here is starting to disappear. Eventually it goes away completely. And look how dramatically the image here changes from like right here to right here. So what does that mean? Well, two things going on here. All right, you see this blue coming down right here on your screen? That is a pretty big trough. I think there's going to be a lot of troughing over the eastern to central U.S. that would definitely impact the steering currents of this tropical system if we have one 7 to 10 days from now. That trough dives down, pretty much knocks away this ridge, whether that's exactly what it does to the ridge or not, if just the ridge just basically weakens and goes away. None of that really matters. What matters here is that there's a massive weakness in what looks like is being created by this trough right into here. At the same time, we have a very low shear environment. This is a strengthening tropical system. So what is this going to do? This is already starting to cruise a little bit further north. There's a wide open weakness for this to turn north. If this is the pattern, 8 days from now, 7 to 8 days from now, over the U.S. and the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean, then this will no doubt turn into the Gulf of Mexico, especially if it strengthens and it's stronger, even at tropical storm low in Category 1 status in the central to western Caribbean. It will no doubt turn, in my opinion, north. Okay, and if it does, then obviously we have an issue with the Gulf of Mexico. We don't want it getting here, but, we kind of take this all back in motion again. And let's back this up a little bit here. There's the ridge disappears, this thing strengthens, turns north with that wide open weakness, and then is full steam ahead right through the Gulf of Mexico. And I mean, the strength of this, if this was to happen, in a way, it's almost limitless. We don't know how strong this could potentially get. So let's hope that doesn't happen, but that's it. We got a lot to figure out. I would say that we need to pull for this to self-destruct itself early on, for it not to survive this. It's pretty wild to think that just this big blob right here could turn into something so powerful right into here, or right into here on down the road. Okay, so let's just hope that this doesn't come together and it just kind of stays a blob of tropical energy and doesn't survive. But I can tell you the background supports it getting its act together, I can tell you. So let's go back and look at this one last time, and dang, we do not have an update. That stinks. It is what it is. So I was going to try to catch the update, but I do think they'll make some changes here in the next few minutes on the next update from the National Hurricane Center. But none of the information that I just discussed with you guys will change. But that's all I got. We'll do it all again in the morning, so stay tuned. I'll go over all the latest information. Full steam ahead, guys. God bless all y'all. Have a great Friday night, and I'll talk to you soon.